This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
So you get a text message saying you're one of the lucky winners to redeem a flight ticket to anywhere of your choice. Or maybe you got a message saying that your bank account will be suspended if you don't click on this link. And the sender of the message is also seemingly like a verified user from the said company. So you click on the link and doomsday happen. Scammers and cybercrimes are getting more creative these days, and even though that may sound a little bit extreme, it has been an unfortunate reality for some individuals. Just look at the newspaper in recent weeks. More than a handful of individuals have fallen for these scams. So how do you stop falling prey into these ever-advancing cyber fraud? Well, here with me today is CF Fong from LGMS.
Hi, my name is Fong. I'm the CEO of LGMS. We are a professional penetration testing firm. In a way, we call ourselves ethical hackers.
And recently, in the newspapers, I've been going through a lot of stories on WhatsApp scams. Perhaps you can start just by explaining, how does this actually work? What is a WhatsApp scam here?
Basically, WhatsApp scam is just like any other scams, right? You probably have heard of people receiving emails, receiving phone calls. The scammers probably call you up and tell you that you have been charged on a certain amount on your card and all that. It's the same thing, right? It's just a different storyline. And WhatsApp is why is WhatsApp? Is because WhatsApp is so popular, right? If you ask around, who doesn't use WhatsApp today, right? So everyone uses WhatsApp, and when something is so dependable on, and that's where the fraudster will be focusing on, right? So fraudsters is no longer depending on so much on emails anymore, but WhatsApp. So essentially, it's still the same story, lah. Basically, the whole objective is to dupe you for your money. Yeah,
and people fall for it still,
yes,
right?
Of course, yeah.
So describe to me how a scenario would be. Yeah. Describe to me the story. When I receive the WhatsApp message, what actually is the message here?
Okay. There's always a generic modus operandi, right? First of all, when you receive a message, right, whether it's coming from email, from a phone, if some message asks you to do something, right? And the story behind is that if you do not do that something, you do not carry out certain activities, then something will happen. Okay, I'll give you one example. For example, you receive a WhatsApp telling you that, your electricity bill is due now. You have to click this to pay that. Otherwise, your electricity will be cut off. And basically, it's a message that tells you to do something. Something already happened and instruct you to do something. It's a common modus operandi. So whenever you receive something, a message to instruct you to perform something, you have to think twice first, right? And because we be putting too much trust on WhatsApp nowadays, right? We just trust it so much. So when you hear something, when you hear someone to ask you to do something, just pause, think, and see whether it makes sense or not. And following by that, right? For instance, if a bank, let's say you receive an email from a bank was telling you that if you do not click on this link to activate your account will be closed and all that. Now, same modus operandi, the bank is telling you that something has happened, you need to do something. Now, when you receive this kind of email, you can just simply ignore it. Because if there's anything that's that critical, the bank will not send you an email, right? Your utility company will not send you a message or SMS. The best way to do is just cut off your communication, call back, contact directly with the party that contacted you and verify, and that's where you can solve all the kind of different types of fraud.
But yet here we are talking about how it's now in newspapers and it seems to be more prevalent than ever before.
Exactly.
Why are people still falling for this? Is it because it's just too real? They're just too good to be true kind of thing?
It's awareness basically. I think the most prominent cases that we've seen so far, because we also do a lot of computer crime investigations, digital forensic crime investigation, the most prominent crime we see so far are payment kind of fraud. For instance, on credit card, debit card kind of fraud. I'm sure they have probably received some calls before. I mean, in general, Malaysians, we always receive calls when someone calls us and say that, hey, I'm calling from a bank. You have a card being charged for X amount of ringgit, and you need to call the bank to cancel it. Otherwise, we will bill you on this. So whenever you have these kind of situations being told, right, normally people will get panicked because it's involved financial losses, right? It's involved something that can cause damages to us, right? Then we lose our common sense. And then we just follow the instructions that's given by the scammer to follow through, and that's the whole thing get played out. So remember, whenever someone tells you to do something over the phone, over emails, we just need to pause and think twice. Yeah.
The other aspect, I think, why this is on the rise is we've seen a number of data leaks in recent years. Last year, I think we had one of the largest breach.
Exactly.
How do we go about when things like this, information about us that we felt was protected, especially when you have the PDPA in place?
Yeah.
But now, I'm getting more phone calls, I'm getting more SMSs, I'm getting more WhatsApp messages and emails. How am I supposed to feel here?
Well, unfortunately, there's sometimes that you see. In terms of data protection, there's two angles of it. One is that what we can do, for instance, we do not simply expose our personal details online. We do not post our email address, our home address, our age, everything online. That's what we can do. But sometimes people who are holding our data, those data custodians, for example, you submitted your personal information to a website. Let's say it's an e-commerce website, and your personal details are all over there. Your address, your home address, your phone numbers. And if these data custodians are not careful, and the data got leaked out, there's nothing much we can do, unfortunately. If you still remember last year, there was a case where the telco data leaked, about 41 million records got leaked. That is the kind of case that we can't do anything about it. So unfortunately. But what you are saying is right. I mean, data leakage is not getting any lesser. The incidence is getting more and more. The only thing we should do, back to square one, if anyone calls you up and tells you to do something, just pause, think, before you act on it.
Talking about this, anyone calling you up, I noticed personally on my end, I seem to be getting a lot of calls that request me to be present in some court hearing, in some other state that I've probably never visited before. And, I can then press number 1 to be connected to the police station, number 2 for this agent. And, I tried to go along with this, but it just felt so real.
Yes.
But I knew it was a scam, and I had to just put down the phone, and, my heart was pounding. These are the kind of things that people fall into.
Yes, exactly. Because the scammers, one of the intentions is to make you panic. So when we are panicked, we lose our sense of, common sense. Now, remember this. If there's something that critical, a court calls you, and come on, if it's that critical, the court will probably instruct the police to come to your house and pick you up already, right? It wouldn't be just calling you, ask you to do something already. So sometimes when people call us or when we receive a message, right, just think. Because we are depending so much on our phone nowadays, our emails, our WhatsApp, even social media. So we basically believe everything that's coming out from this media.
And that's on the consumer side. What about the enterprises? How was that like in 2018?
Well, to enterprises now, same message that I've been telling everyone before. Hackers nowadays, they do not care who you are anymore. Like if you witness what happened back in 2017, the WannaCry malware, right? Basically, hackers today are just aimed for one thing. I mean, I'm referring to non-ethical hackers, not ethical hackers, but non-ethical hackers that just after one thing, financial gain. So hackers is commonly using malware, ransomware to make money out of the victim. So when they blast out the ransomware to the world, they don't really care who these people are. So whether you're a housewife, you're a small businessman, or whether you are large enterprises, everyone is a victim. The only thing is that small enterprises, maybe they are more at the disadvantaged side because you probably do not have so much investment that you put in like the large enterprises. But then your risks are equally same as larger enterprises. So the most common cases that we have seen so far for businesses, right, are what we call business email compromises, either coming from a malware, meaning that some of your employees receive a ransomware, they click on it, and then all of your data got encrypted, and you have to pay the ransom. Now, the second type of attacks that coming into businesses, right? Commonly what we see is business email compromise, where the hackers send a malware to your employees. Your employee click on it, and the employee's PC are infected with malware, but the malware is not intended to encrypt anything. The malware will just sit into your office, listen to the traffic. That's what's happening in the office. Like they will study the email communications of your employees to perhaps your supplier or your customers. They'll study the behavior of communications, and the hackers will then use this knowledge to craft certain instructions, right? So, for example,
that's where they pretend to be your supplier.
Exactly.
And so forth.
Yeah, they ask you when you make payment, they'll tell you, "Hey, we have just changed our account to a different account, so please, make account payment to this account." Now, when the hackers have this form of knowledge, it is a very high risk. It's a very risky situation for organizations because the hackers already spent enough time to study what is going on within an organization. And these kind of hacks are very common nowadays.
So from the days of where it's just so convenient, you can do things via email. Someone were to tell me like, oh, actually my bank account number changed, and then I just send it to a different bank account. We have to take one step away, make a phone call, check with the supplier. Did you actually change your account number?
Exactly.
Here?
Back to square one, like the same message I've been telling everyone. Pause, think, and call back. Yeah.
Sounds so simple, but yet every time we have to talk about
because
this.
we trust our email so much. We don't care about the details anymore. We just trust everything that's coming up from the email.
And it's also a lot easier, I guess, for these dark hackers, these black hackers, to actually start something like this, because the dark web is on the rise. There's more light on the dark web. People can actually buy malwares. Often you don't even need to have programming language and execute this, right?
Exactly. There's so much things happening in dark web, and based on our study, what have changed since last year and a year before last year and last year, there's so many things have changed. Like, for example, we have started seeing people selling malware as a service on the dark web, meaning that if you want to craft a malware and you do not have necessary programming skills, you just need to hire the hacker, tell the hacker, look, I have these organizations, they are using this kind of software, please help me to write a malware. Then the hackers will come up and with a malware, and they can even do profit sharing. Right, whatever the enterprise pay you for the ransom, then they will just split it with you. And we also starting to see people selling hack credentials, hack accounts on the dark web. For example, some of the Malaysian organizations that we're working with, some of their credentials also been found on dark web. Their director's email, password, their personal home address, and all this were being sold on dark web.
Now, the PDPA has been in place for a number of years now. CF, from your point of view, being a security analyst and an expert in this area, what would you like to see implement or change that would at least try to make it a little bit harder, or prevent, or at least just protect us, individuals and enterprises?
From my technical point of view, right, PDPA itself is kind of not enough. What we are currently lack of are something like our neighbors have. Like, for instance, Singapore, they have something called a do not call list, meaning that any organizations who wish to call you up for advertisement or call you up for survey or anything, they need to check through a list first. If your name is registered in a do not call list, then they cannot call you. Now, if we have certain regulations like that to create a list like that in Malaysia, I think that will cut down fraud cases over the phone tremendously.
And whose responsibility is this to?
It's lawmakers' responsibility. So we, in a way, we are also advocating this privacy. But having PDPA alone itself is insignificant.
Because right now, I'll just block the calls, but they have a million numbers to use to call me.
You just won't be able to stop even legitimate advertisers because there's no such law in place.
What are you looking forward in 2019, or at least looking out for in 2019, that we should know about?
Back in 2018, right, we observed a very interesting trend. One thing is what we just brought up, malware as a service. There's going to be more malware in this year, 2019. And we also anticipate to see more hacking will occur on IoT and smart home devices. Because nowadays, if you look at markets, right, a lot of home devices are already equipped with internet capabilities. I assume that you're using smart TV. Now we're seeing smart home appliances like smart washing machines, smart stove, and all that. So all these are hackable. So we foresee there will starting to have more hacking incidents occurring at smart home level.
And then, of course, there's the CCTVs, right? That is just everyone's buying it off, and you can find them really cheap online.
Yes.
But, they're meant to do security. However, I don't think they're that secure on their own.
Yeah, and webcam also. A lot of these CCTV webcam also comes with default username and password. And most of the time, when we plug in the CCTV, we don't bother to change the password, right? And how often do we flash the firmware? Probably we don't. So all of these devices, when it comes to our lives, right, and it's also created another form of risk. For example, if you have a CCTV at home, and if your CCTV is having a default password, anyone basically can just log onto your CCTV and watch what you are doing at home.
So the message is just very simple: just pause when you're in that situation and think.
Yes, pause, think. Don't get panic. In fact, when someone calls you up to tell you that something critical happened, like for example, you owe a bank 3,000 ringgit, the bank will not just simply sue you or take action immediately. You can still have time to think, right, and call back. So just stay cool. Yeah.
Easy as that.
Yes. This will significantly reduce fraud
And hopefully when we bring you back in again in a number of weeks' time from now on, we may see it a slightly decrease. But
We certainly hope that.
CF, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was CF Fong, the CEO and cybersecurity consultant for LGMS, talking about how to stay safe and stay calm in cases that seem a little bit weird to help prevent cyber scams. You're listening to BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.